So, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all of you. Today, we are going to look at one of the most interesting topics of computing right now, and that's big data and its various applications. I hope you all have got the different curriculum, the different modules in the curriculum that are present, and we will be going through the first module of this particular series, which is Introduction to Big Data and its various applications. So, first question that we all have in our mind is, what is big data and why does it that it matters? I mean, what's the big deal about big data? So, essentially, data, let's just look at data. For example, as per Wikipedia, if you just go ahead and look at Wikipedia, you will see that data refers to the fact that some information or knowledge is represented or coded in some form suitable for better usage or processing. So basically, it's just a way to store some kind of data. And big data shares the same kind of definition with data, but there is only one major difference in it, that is its size. It's very huge in size, and big data doesn't only mean that it is massive, but it also has the potential to grow exponentially for an indefinite period. So I can say that today I collect some amount of data. It is, let's say, around 2 GB or 4 GB. But later on, it might grow to even to such an extent that it cannot be managed or processed by using simple traditional techniques such as relational database management systems. And we will get into the heart of what is the main difference between the RDBMS systems and the big data systems as we slowly progress in this course. So we need to know why does it matter, so that we will understand the different need for specialized techniques for storing and processing big data, and we will also try to understand this with a very small example. As an example, let's try to understand something very simple. Let's say I have a very small pharmacy shop with me, and I don't have many medicines with me, but I have very basic medicines that are required for day to day usage. For example, let's say I have basic medicines for, if somebody has fever. So I have paracetamol, something for stomach ailments, maybe Rantac or something like that, something which you guys can relate to very easily. So it's not a very big, shop because I don't have all the things inside it, but I still have to store certain kind of information about this because in my day-to-day shop activities, I need to know what kind of medicines am I exactly selling, because I need to show it to the government also, right? Like, okay, I made a profit of this amount from selling this amount of medicines. But let's just say my medicine shop does very well, and in the future my medicine shop expands and I have lots of shops with me. Now it's not just one. So what happens then is I just don't have few medicines with me anymore. I have many medicines with me. So what happens is that it becomes very difficult to store the data, because now I need to track in what are the different medicines that I sold, what are the different kind types of medicines that I sold, and to whom did I sell these medicines, and did I have the prescriptions for those medicines. So it becomes relatively difficult for me to track, and it will not be possible for me to write it down in a small notepad or something like that, because I need to store it somewhere. And imagine if I have a chain of so many medical shops like that. So what happens then is it becomes very difficult to store such kind of data. And that's what matters, right? I need the data for my own sake. I will be using it for analyzing what kind of medicines I'm selling the most, what kind of medicines are not sold properly, and we need to also see what are the peak demands of it, so that I can gather some kind of important insights from it. And that's why, guys, there is a very famous saying by one of the most popular publishing houses, that's O'Reilly and Publication. And Tim O'Reilly, you should take a look at this. Tim O'Reilly says that big data is the next Intel, and that's what this is all about. So why does it matter? So, guys, since we have already covered the basics of big data and we know what exactly are the examples of big data, further we will be looking at what are the different characteristics of big data, what are the main measuring factors for big data, what are the sources of big data. I mean, we can get the big data from people, machines can generate it, even the logs that a software generates, that is also big data, right? So those are the different sources of big data. What are the different types of data that you can see and are stored by big data? For example, if the data is going to be structured, if the data is going to be semi-structured, or it is going to be unstructured. So we will look at these examples as we move on to this particular slide. And lastly, we will look at what are the different kinds of big data applications in various domains in today's world. So going next, what is big data and why is it important? So if you were paying attention to what I was saying earlier, I think you have understood what is the importance of a big data from the example that I presented to you. So big data refers to the large and diverse sets of information that grow at ever increasing rate. So it is not for me to decide, okay, look, I know the data is going to increase by this much. That's not for me to decide. It will increase indefinitely, as I mentioned earlier, and I cannot tell you that how much the data is going to grow. So the main important factors that are associated with big data are also known as the 4 V's or the 5 V's that are associated with big data, which we will look at in the upcoming slides. But for now, we will mainly try to focus on some of the primary aspects of big data, that is volume. So, you know, if the size of the data is huge, it can be in the range of terabytes or even more than that. So that is what I mean by volume, the amount of space that it is going to occupy on a particular disk. The rate of change is also an important factor because, as you might be aware, the nature of the data can change because of the changes in the transactions, right? There could be multiple reasons that can support these kind of changes in transaction. For example, if there is a change in the business logic, if there is a change in the requirement, or it can be a change in the environment also. So many such things also affect the changes in the big data. And the next important thing is variety, which I had already mentioned, that is structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. By structured data, you basically mean the data that you can see it in your Excel sheets or maybe in the database tables also. Something that has particular schema or a map to it so that you can see it in a good format. That's what we call as a structured data. For unstructured data, it can be it can be a text, it can be a paragraph. It does not have any kind of well-defined structure. It can be video, it can be images. And semi-structured data is the kind of data that you find in web pages. For example, JavaScript object notations, or you can look at different kind of object artifacts that you get from any kind of code. It can be email, because that is also semi-structured, right? You have a subject, you have a CC, you have a BCC, and then you have the email body also. So that is what we mean by semi-structured data. So overall, in this session, we will further go through different examples, and we will also go through some questions that I will post at the end of the session, which will tell you about the different types of the data. And we will look at some of the tools that are related to processing such kind of data. So like, for example, if you if you are trying to scrap the data, some kind of web page or something like that, that is also semi-structured data. So we will try to understand such kind of examples. So let's look at some of the other points. So big data is often stored in computer databases, and there is a very specialized kind of software which handles such kind of large and complex data sets. Because guys, as you might be aware, for an Excel sheet, you cannot have more than 10 million rows in it. It is simply going to crash. And there is a similar kind of capping at the number of columns also that you can have in the Excel sheet. So you cannot simply view it or see it using normal software that we know, that we use it for our day-to-day use cases. You need a specialized kind of software for that, and we will go through it. Also, we will try to understand how big data helps companies to make informed decisions and understand what are the desires of their customers. So big data will help them to analyze what are the growth opportunities and how they can improve the interaction or the sentiment with their customers. Because if you have seen the e-commerce websites, lots of people comment in the product pages about the different kind of products that they bought. It might be good, it might be bad, it can be many things. So the main selling point over here is that a big data analytics solution will help them to unlock strategic values and take full advantage of their assets. It will also help the companies to understand what is that they are doing wrong, what is their inefficiency, and what can be the growth opportunities for their company. So guys, let's look at the definition of big data again. So as we have already covered from Wikipedia, that big data refers to the data sets that are too large or complex to be dealt by traditional data processing application software such as RDBMSs. The second point, information asset characterized by high volume, velocity and variety requires specific technology and analytical methods for it